right. Well, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are across the country joining us this morning or afternoon. I'm very excited to be here to discuss a panel discussion on the reporting solution. So we'll do some quick introductions. And so my name is Rachel Ormsby. I am a partner and market industry leader, and I sit in our Dallas, Texas office. And with us today, we have a fabulous lineup of panelists. We have Kevin, Lisa, Erica, and Mitchell all joining us from across the country. And we're going to really dive into their backgrounds and really get to know them a little bit more during our panel discussion. But for now, I want to turn it over to Tammy Boyle, and she's going to introduce herself and then really take us into an overview of the reporting solution.
Hi, I'm Tammy. I'm the Senior Client Relationship Manager here at Forvis Mazar within Edge. We're going to get started with an overview of TRS, the reporting solution. This is our overview. We're going to do the overview. We're going to have our panelists introduce themselves, then they'll discuss TRS and how they're utilizing it internally, and then we'll move into some questions and answers. Before we dive into TRS, though, we do have a polling question. So polling question number 1, how is your organization currently preparing your annual comprehensive financial report or your financial report if you're not doing the annual comprehensive? Do you use Microsoft Word and Excel? Are you currently a user of TRS? Do you have another solution that is not TRS? And then your auditors prepare the ACFR for your organization. While you think that over, just to reiterate, we're going to go through TRS as a whole. We'll do the moderator and panelist discussion, and then we'll have some questions and answers. If you have questions and answers throughout, though, feel free to put them in the box and we'll respond accordingly, and or we'll call them out, ask the panelists, or wait till the very end of the panel discussion. We're just waiting for our results to come in. It takes about a minute, and then we'll be able to see these results live. And then we'll dive into TRS and how it can streamline the preparation of the ACFR and the financial report. So not super surprising that most people are still using Microsoft Word and Excel. That's pretty standard. Nice to see that there are some current users of TRS here, and curious as to what the other solutions are, of course. And then Rachel, as she mentions, she is an auditor in the Dallas office, and she actually does use TRS internally to prepare ACFRs or financial reports for entities. So moving into TRS. So it is web-based. It does run in Chrome, Edge, or Firefox, and it's all updating in real time. You can have as many people logged in at once as you see fit. You can link your financials within the narrative itself. You can build up your data links. That happens during the implementation, so it maintains that consistency between the narrative and your financial statements. For example, your capital asset note can be linked. You're always in the most recent version, so you can simplify sharing and your version control. You can track your report progress. Project management is built into the software. During the implementation, we replicate your prior year. We train all staff that needs to be trained, and we can even customize that so it's specific to the individual. During the annual service, we provide support so that you have unlimited access to our support staff. And ongoing, as you can see here, you have access to our support staff. We can provide you with checklists to aid in that reporting accuracy, and we can assist with GFOA pronouncements so that we implement them with clients in real time. And then just overview, big picture advantages. It is built in-house. It is to be used by the entity to prepare the financial report rather than using spreadsheets and Word documentation. It increases collaboration. Multiple people can be logged in at the same time. You can have as many logins as you need for the entity. It's quick and easy to learn. Again, we do 90% of the setup, so the last 10% is just for training purposes. The ability to link between your narrative pieces and from your financial statements into your document really ensures that everything's updating in real time and everything ties. So for example, your capital asset note, you can make sure that it ties to your government-wide net position. We also, with our support team, again, this is what we do. So we are very knowledgeable both about TRS and fund financial accounting. Plus we have access to people within Forvis Mazar that are on the board and can assist with any GASB pronouncements and any edits that need to be made to your ACFR or financial report. And then we do have project management built in, and as you complete items within your ACFR, it gets a little green checkbox, and then it even shows you the completion and how close you are to completing your ACFR for that fiscal year. And we work with all, TRS is used by many different financial entities, governmental financial entities. So we work with cities, BTAs, school districts, states. So any standalone government really can benefit from using TRS. So whether they're preparing the full ACFR or the annual financial report. We also do have additional tools in the state of Florida. There's an AFR that gets submitted to the state, and we have an AFR module. You can do interims as well within TRS. So our next polling question, how many people in your organization are working together to prepare the ACFR? So 1 through 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, or 15 or more. And the nice thing with multiple users within TRS is everybody can be logged in at the same time working on their respective section of the ACFR, and then that's all going to update in real time as well. So if somebody's posting adjustments, you can see that on your financial statements. If you've made a change to your financial statements and there's an update within the narrative that's been linked, that amount will also be rendered with the new changes upon export and the review. And with it being web-based, people can be located wherever they need to be at that time and place. One to 5, I feel like that's pretty standard. Usually that's gives everybody a fair amount of area to cover, so that makes a lot of sense. Again, though, just keep in mind that no matter how many people you need a login for, that's included in the cost, and all of those people are trained accordingly, and then they have unlimited access to our support staff. So that's the big picture overview of TRS, and now I'm going to turn it over to Rachel and our panelists.
All right. Thank you so much, Tammy, for giving us an overview of the reporting solution. And I hope those of you that are joining us today can really see some of the advantages and benefits of utilizing the reporting solution. So now we're kind of into our panel discussion. And so what we're going to do first is really just kind of introduce our panelists, and then of course myself. So I'll start first. I am Rachel Ormsby. As I mentioned, I'm a partner and market industry leader. And I guess I should have mentioned I'm an audit partner. So thank you, Tammy, for bringing that up. And kind of in my background, a lot of clients here within Texas do outsource the ACFR preparation to the auditors. And so I have had the great privilege for almost 14 years now of working with our clients to assist them with their ACFR preparation. And over the years, probably like many of you, we were historically using Word and Excel. And I thought to myself, there has got to be a better way to streamline the preparation of these large documents. Many of you that are kind of in all of our shoes know that these reports are anywhere from 150 to 200 plus pages. And so just the manual efforts and kind of the error prone that utilizing Microsoft Word and Excel kind of caused our teams really had us take a step back and really rethink our strategy on how we were going to be able to better assist our clients. You know, big picture, we saw a problem and we came with a solution. So we're really, really excited to be here discussing the reporting solution. And so with that, I am really going to turn it over to our panelists, and I'll kind of call them one by one. But this is really their chance to introduce themselves, really kind of give their background and kind of represent who they are. So I kind of, with that, why don't we start with Kevin? Will you introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are?
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. I am Kevin Kilbasa. I am the City Controller for the City of Virginia Beach. And we have been using the reporting solution since 2017. Prior to that, we were using another software, and we were in the lookout for updating it. It was a really outdated software, and we were lucky enough for us that another locality close to us was using the reporting solution and had told us how wonderful it was. So we joined, and starting in 2017, we used it for our ACFR reporting. As Tammy showed some of the overview of it, some of those data links really streamlines the process for us and allows us to make having our ACFR a lot easier for us. We all know it's a large document with a lot of numbers everywhere, so having those data links has really helped us streamline our process.
And thank you so much, Kevin. With that, Lisa, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lisa Marlin, and I am the Deputy Finance Officer for Onslow County in North Carolina. Prior to joining the county, I lived in Arizona with my active duty Marine who's since retired. And so I've been all around the U.S. and worked in many areas. In Yuma, I was the finance director for the city of Yuma, and we were in the same situation there that many people find themselves in, which is Excel, Word, PDF, and all of those things that manually then create the final ACFR. When I joined the city of Yuma, that was my first foray into local government. Prior to that, I had been in private sector. I had worked for the Marine Corps as a civilian budget analyst, and I had also worked for a couple of nonprofits. So this was something completely new to me. No, I never knew an ACFR existed, and so I had to learn, at the ripe old age of about 42, how to do all of this stuff. So I've been in finance for over 20 years. So being new to it was definitely a learning curve. But I said the same thing that Rachel said, which was there's got to be an easier way to do this. This is a clunky manual process, and it's extremely outdated. And we had to look for something else. However, in my current position, we had this similar situation where a lot of North Carolina local governments do use their auditing firms to create their ACFRs. So when I joined the County of Onslow, that's what was happening. And I didn't like that setup either. So seems like a great thing until you don't have command over your own financial statements. And that is not something that I like. So I do have a lot of experience in working with teams, building the ACFRs together. The County of Onslow is a little over 200,000 population, the 300 million plus budget, and the city of Yuma is very similar. So we're talking about pretty large organizations with multiple departments, many funds. So I knew there had to be something better out there for sure. So I'm happy to share my experience with anyone. And of course, I'm absolutely happy to be a resource to help. We did just implement, so it's fresh. So I'm happy to help anybody decide, help you see how this works, and whichever route that you decide to take there's a better way out there for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lisa, for sharing your experiences and background. And with that, I'm going to flip it over to Erica to introduce herself and background.
Hi, everybody. I'm Erica Solis. I'm the Assistant Director of Finance for the City of Cedar Park, located in Central Texas. I've been here for just over a year now. And when I joined here, the ACFR was prepared by one person in Excel workbooks, like many of y'all, using many, many tabs. But prior to joining Cedar Park, I did work at a neighboring city for 7 years. And when I started there, they had just implemented TRS. And so I had 7 years of ACFR preparation with that city. And we, again, Round Rock also used formerly Excel workbooks and tabs and whatnot. But so this will be my 10th year using TRS. When I joined Cedar Park, I talked to my finance director and I was like, TRS is a great tool for us. We definitely streamlined the ACFR process at our neighboring city. And I knew it would be a huge benefit to us, especially with the county manager who was the sole preparer prior to my arrival. He retired after many years here. So, we didn't have people that were experienced with the ACFR preparation. I definitely didn't want to tap into the Excel workbooks after having used TRS for 7 or 8 years in Round Rock. So we got on board. Tammy helped us implement TRS here. So while in Round Rock, they had already implemented the tool. In Cedar Park, I had the opportunity to be part of the implementation team here, and it was a great opportunity, very smooth. And even though this was new to myself and the accounting manager here in Cedar Park, he was new to the ACFR preparation. It was a very smooth process. We were very successful with the preparation, and we were able to move up our audit opinion date by 3 weeks, which was a huge success for us because being a part of a new organization, even though you prepared ACFRs before, it is different from city to city, depending on, if there's component units and what the GASB entries look like and whatnot. So, TRS there, Tammy helped us a lot. She was very knowledgeable. She has the background that we needed to help us. She understood what we needed to do. And it was a great process. So, and again, I am here also as a resource if you have any questions or want to reach out after the webinar to talk more about TRS and what our experience has been.
Wonderful. Thank you, Erica. And we'll try one more time. Mitchell, are you able to hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me okay now?
We can hear you perfect. Will you introduce yourself?
Sorry about that. My name is Mitchell Kelly. I'm the reporting and analysis manager at Clark County, Washington. We've been with TRS for 7 years. We implemented 7 years ago. I've been with the county for 8 years. Our county is over 500,000 population, and many different departments and funds. Some of the challenges that we had prior is we, like many people, we did use Microsoft Word and Excel to make our financial statements. It was quite complex having so many different segments and trying to align all of those different segments together. With an organization as diverse and widespread as the county is, TRS has been a tremendous benefit to us in preparing our annual comprehensive financial report. In addition, we also do the PAFR, Popular Annual Financial Report. That information also links with the financial information that's in our ACFR. So it makes it really a streamlined process. We can do both reports almost seamlessly. So yeah, we use it mainly for those two purposes. And the ACFR team has been so awesome to work with. They're always ready and willing and able to help with any issue that we may have and come with quick solutions. And since implementing TRS, we've had a lot more streamlined process. I'm sure we'll be talking about that more, but so that's a little bit of my background and how we use currently TRS.
Perfect. Thank you, Mitchell, for sharing your background and introduction. And so kind of before we dive into the next set of questions, and I'm kind of seeing some of the questions come in, I just really also kind of want to set the stage for, and I think Lisa hit the nail on the head that, obviously we're here to talk about the reporting solution and how we all believe this tool has streamlined the ACFR preparation process for each of us individually. But I think at the end of the day, there are other solutions out there. And so really, we just want to get across that there is better options and better ways out there. And we want to equip everybody with, the resources and tools that we believe have really benefited our teams individually greatly. And so I'm sure many of you are aware, GFOA did put a study out several years ago on meeting the demand for state and local public finance. And kind of in that study, it's probably no surprise that there is a significant amount of retirements headed our way. And the talent pipeline coming in to kind of fill that shortage is dwindling. And in fact, many schools and universities these days are not teaching governmental accounting. And so when we look at the future success of our teams and our entities, we're kind of looking around going, wow, like who is going to really step in and kind of replace the next generation? And so again, with the talent pipeline really dwindling and the fact that this stuff is hard, governmental accounting is hard stuff. And so especially when you get into, government-wide conversions. And so we really believe that in order to kind of streamline this process and make it an efficient use of everyone's time and really produce a quality product, that the reporting solution has really been a lifesaver, if you will, for us. And so just really want to set the tone that we understand if you're using another solution, that's great. And thank you so much for joining us. But we want to really just kind of equip you with what are the advantages, what are the benefits, and let you hear from, your peers. We're all very collaborative. And so we want to make this beneficial and useful for everyone that's joining us today. And so kind of moving into our next round of questions, we want to hear from each of our panelists on how has preparing the ACFR previously been done and kind of what were your big pain points. And so you've kind of heard from me, my big pain points where it was a manual process. Also, it was very limited. So we are auditors, and when we prepare these reports, many cases, it was only one individual that was producing these reports for our clients that had access control rights. And so with the reporting solution, it's many individuals can be logged into the system, and one individual could be preparing the cash flow statement while another individual would be working on the footnotes. So those were some of our big pain points and challenges in the preparation on the audit side for our clients. But kind of moving along, Lisa, will you share kind of what were your, if you had to summarize, like what were your big pain points?
Yes, so I can speak to this from both points of view because of the two organizations that I worked for. Spending 5 years in Yuma, all 5 of those years, we developed our ACFR via Microsoft Access, which essentially we use to pull the raw data, do some do some formatting and plugging it into basically a raw data sheet within our workbook that held all of our financial statements. It was designed by my predecessor, who had a great mind for that type of thing, but once he was gone, there was no fixing this whole situation. So spreadsheets, building the statements, building the charts, all the charts and the notes, the MD&A and everything, then converting those, taking those, putting them in as pictures into Word documents so that the Word document doesn't just crash and burn. And then ultimately taking various Word documents, putting them all together into PDF and creating the final document. So obviously, as everyone knows, major challenges to those. It's extremely manual. There are many, many hours of work for multiple staff members. There's no version control unless you have figured out a way to do it well. Anytime you make a correction to a financial statement, you've got to go through and make all the corrections throughout the document, the narratives, the MD&A, the notes section. Everything has to go, you've got to go through and figure out which 5 areas do I now have to change my fund balance. That's just one, a very small example of the manual nature of it. And then you have to take it back into PDF every time, or you have to remove pages and put in the new pages. It's extremely time consuming, extremely manual, and it drives you insane, really. And the current major challenges that I have is, not having the capability of building my own financial statement. So I'd rather do it manually than not at all. So I was kind of in the situation in Onslow County where I had to decide, okay, are we going to take this in-house the old way that I know, or are we going to figure out a solution to this that, where we can find some software that will drive a much more streamlined process. So, now I don't have to depend on a third party to prepare it. There was often no draft available early on, very little time to review the final product due to deadlines. And really it begs the question of audit firm independence. So I feel like neither way was a great way to do it. So there had to be a better solution. And so that's where we are. Happy to report that in FY23, we were successful in implementing TRS. So I'm looking very forward to FY24 and seeing where that's all the hard work that we put into and implementing is going to come to fruition this year. And I'm very excited about that prospect.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lisa, for sharing. And I know many on the call can probably relate to some of the pain points that you have previously lived. Kevin, will you kind of share what some of your biggest challenges were as you were working to prepare the ACFR previously?
Yeah, thank you. So as I mentioned, we were in 2017 was when we transitioned to the reporting solution. And prior to that, we were using another ACFR reporting solution. I guess use the same thing, but using another reporting method. And we had noticed that for us at the city of Virginia Beach, a rather larger city that's got multiple enterprise funds, close to 20 special revenue funds, a lot of the issues that we were having was a lot of the data repeats itself in multiple phases within the ACFR. And one of the things we liked the most about the reporting solution were those data links. So when you do updated data, say on the financial statements, when you have those data links within it, it goes through and it updates it throughout the whole entire ACFR. So that was one of the main reasons for us selecting TRS at the time. They came and helped us implement it. They actually came on site, and as mentioned, they reproduced our prior year's ACFR, and it helped us get it set up for the next year. And it really streamlined that process of what was taking us. And a lot of it was towards the end of the thing where you go in and you're starting to finalize everything, and you notice you needed to change a number, say in your footnotes, and it needed to change it throughout the whole MD&A the MD&A to the different financial statements. And it provides that kind of checks and balances to make sure everything is in balance and the numbers all tie out. So that was probably our biggest challenge in what we were using before. It didn't have that kind of integration throughout the whole document, where now with TRS you can complete the MD&A, the notes of financial statements, the stat tables, all in one platform, and all the numbers can be tied together. So when something is updated in one section, it updates it throughout the entire book. And I think that really is one of the biggest improvements and the biggest things that we like with the reporting solution. It really helps us in preparing the ACFR.
Agree very much, Kevin. It never fails. Audit adjustments, reclasses, last minute things happen, right? And we have to think about previously, where all were those adjustments? What all did they impact? Did they impact the financials? Probably, which means the footnotes, which means the MD&A, which means the stats. And so having all those data links is critical to ensuring we're producing, quality documents that are tying back and forth to each other and are less error prone. So thank you for sharing that, definitely. Mitchell, do you want to kind of share what some of your biggest pain points, challenges were?
Yeah, so like I said at the beginning, we had multiple Excel documents and Word documents with the narratives of the notes to the financial statements and the MD&A, and it was complicated for us, as both the other panelists have said. Changing one number in a financial statement, then you have to find it everywhere else, made it really complicated for us to make sure that all of our versions, every single section of the statement was aligned, and we had set it up in a way where each different statement was a different version. So keeping track of all of those versions and then having somebody who was responsible for that version or their fund or the MD&A or different segments, it made it really complicated to make sure, especially as we were presenting the statements to the auditors, that we were presented the statements to the auditors in a way that we were confident everything was going to be okay. It took a lot of effort for us to do that. And with TRS and having those data links, it makes it so much easier as we're preparing in the preparation stage. And if, as Kevin mentioned, if there's statements or changes that the auditors request, we can make it once and it flows through everywhere that number is referenced. So it makes our preparation has tremendously improved for our ACFR. And then later we also implemented the PAFR. We present that every year as well. And one other thing I wanted to mention, when we started with TRS, we were on a different financial reporting software. And since the 7 years that we've been on TRS, we converted to a new financial reporting software and financial software. And that implementation, we implemented twice. We implemented TRS twice, but the second implementation was so seamless because of our understanding of TRS and the team that helped us implement. We really didn't have any problems with continuing our financial reporting and our compliance with the ACFR, and it was all of our process since implementing the TRS system has been really successful for us.
Excellent. And thank you, Mitchell, I think, for sharing that. I don't know if that was a question in the chat, but a lot of organizations, I feel like, at least kind of in my background, are looking at upgrading their ERP systems or completely changing and moving to a new platform. So I think that's really important for the audience to hear that, when you do have a major ERP system conversion like that, that you're still able to successfully utilize the reporting solution to produce your reports, and it's a seamless process. So thank you for bringing that up, because I know that is a lot. I'm seeing that a lot more, right, in the market with ERP updates and conversions. And then certainly last but not least, Erica, will you kind of share, and I know some of you hit on it, but what were your biggest pain points in preparing and kind of previously what you were doing?
Yep. So I feel like I'd mostly be echoing what our other three presenters have said. We did, as I mentioned earlier, we did use Excel workbooks. The one thing I do want to add, though, is, using TRS for so many years, I feel like there have been growing pains with the tool. But last year was the first year that we actually took the ACFR from start to finish completely in TRS. So at my previous city, we used to export, do formatting outside of the tool. But last year here at Cedar Park, we were able to import our trial balance from start to finish, export, do the page numbering in TRS, our org chart, everything was uploaded in TRS that we needed to publish our document. So it worked out really, really well. So definitely, appreciate some of the improvements that have happened, some of the feedback y'all have taken from us, as your clients over the years as well, to kind of help make it more of a streamlined and efficient process from start to finish. But other than echoing what everyone else has said, I don't know that I have anything else to add.
you for bringing that up too. Kind of what you said, there was two things that I kind of took from that is one, anytime you're making an investment in a software or a solution, there's going to be growing pains. We all know that there's a learning curve. And so, and we feel that too when we're users of the reporting solution. And so I think the tool and the solution it only benefits as much as we all are willing, right, to put in the time and the training to make this document and this product as best as it possibly can be. So, if anybody's on the call and has experienced growing pains, know that you're not alone, right? Anything good worth having is you've got to work hard at. And so I think this is just a great example of that. And then also the feedback, us as well, our audit team provides feedback, right, and to our reporting solution group, and they are the most quick to listen. They're eager. We want the feedback. We want to know how we can make this solution beneficial because it solves everyone's problems, right? So thank you kind of for bringing that up as well. And so we are going to move into our we are moving into a polling question. So we want to know from our audience tuning in today, what are your biggest challenges in preparing your ACFR? Is it limited to one user who can only work on the ACFR at one time? Do you struggle linking between the financial statements to other parts of the ACFR, so that kind of data linking? Do you struggle with changes and audit adjustments not being made in real time, so instantaneously? Or do you struggle with incorporating GASB updates into the ACFR? So we'll give everyone about a minute to answer this question. And I know kind of while we've all been chatting, there's been some great questions coming in. And I know Tammy is working in the background to either answer these as these are coming in. But while we're waiting for this, would the group and anybody that wants to unmute, would you say this is a cost-effective solution for your governmental entity? Would you maybe share your thoughts on price? Do you think this is a cost-effective solution?
I can say without a doubt, without putting out there what the price is or anything, this is an unbelievable cost-effective way of completing our ACFR. The customer service from TRS is by far the best I've seen, and I couldn't imagine either using another software or not having them there with us when we produce our ACFR.
Thank you. And I know Tammy will share some pricing because it does range, right? Depending on the size of your entity and things of that nature, there are some ranges, and we'll let Tammy share that. But thank you, Kevin, for that feedback. So it looks like it's kind of across the board, as I would have probably imagined. Linking seems to be leading the pack, and that's probably one of my and our team's biggest challenges. And then also just the changes, I think, made in real time. And then, of course, GASB updates. GASB's been very busy, it seems like, over the last several years. So we're in it together to get these changes incorporated. Okay, so we'll move to our last panel discussion question, and then we can round it out in about another 10 minutes with questions and answers. So we want to hear from this group of talented individuals. How has this solution streamlined your ACFR preparation process and really been able to kind of take it to the next level for you? And Erica, we'll start with you this time.
Thank you, Rachel. So we, as I've mentioned previously, we do the ACFR now from start to finish within TRS. It's been a great tool for us. It does save us many, man hours of trying to fix links and break things in Excel that would have otherwise broken. As Lisa mentioned earlier, our county manager that was here previously, he did use a lot of Access databases. So, with him left that knowledge of how to use those, because it's not something that I've been trained on myself personally. So it's just really made things smoother. I do want to add also that we actually give, and I'm sure many of your clients do, but we do give our auditors read-only access, which helps them be able to see, how we're mapping our accounts within TRS, within the financial statements to the financial statement line items, And that's been really beneficial as well, because I know auditors, they tend to use their own tool, and some do use TRS as well, but it's been helpful because I think it also just helps with some of the questions that going back and forth of where does this balance roll up to? Where does this account live? What financial statement is it on? So I do want to add that is a plus to this as well, because they have access to our financial information and can see how everything is being mapped within the system. So.
Excellent. Thank you, Erica, for sharing that. Yeah, I think the kind of streamlined with the auditors is excellent. You know, we understand this is not your day job, right, to produce ACFRs and go through audits. So anytime you can kind of collaborate and streamline that process is always ideal for sure. Mitchell, do you want to talk about kind of how the reporting solutions really kind of help streamline the process for you all?
Yeah, so I'm going to take it because I agree with what has been said already, but I also want to talk about the government-wide conversion that we do. You can upload supporting documents to that, and how those conversions are made to the entries, the adjustments that you make within TRS. So something that we had noticed from our auditors as well is that we would have in our files all these different in our shared drive, we'd have all these different versions of how we calculated the government-wide conversions, but now we can upload those final documents to TRS, and then when we give read-only access to the auditors, they have access to see that documentation as well, and we can walk through that with them. So we're all working from the same version, and that has really also helped us. Not only with the auditors, but just as we prepare the financial statements as well. So that piece also has been really, really helpful. But having everyone, we can separate the preparation of the statements into different segments and have other people in the document at the same time working on their piece, their assigned piece, and having that project management tool, as Tammy talked at the beginning. That's been really helpful for us, for our team, and then across the county, the other departments that have to put in information into the ACFR, they don't need to send it to us. We can just review it in the document itself and make sure that it's been done, and review it in that way, rather than having multiple hands pass through all the information. So that's been really helpful for our organization, and yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Mitchell, for sharing. And then Lisa, do you want to talk about your experience and how it's helped streamline at the county?
Yes, absolutely. So for Onslow County, some people may think, okay, well, your auditors were doing it, so now you're doing it, so that's more time. And technically, yes, that's true. But for me, the control over our own financial statements, knowing how it's mapped, knowing what's going into it, allows me to do a much more thorough review. I can create drafts. I can look at draft financial statements anytime I want, while the accountants are working through all of the preparation. I can be at the sort of 10,000 foot level pulling drafts and looking to make sure that everything is clicking. And so, one of the challenges that I said that we faced is lack of review time once it gets to our hands, due to very tight deadlines. The state of North Carolina has one of the tightest deadlines I've ever seen. So when everyone's rushing to get a document done, the version control issues, the lack of review by the people who are doing the books, right? So you can take a trial balance and you can create these, but it's very, very difficult then for a person back on our end to go through and review it, because you're looking at a compilation of numbers. How can I make sure that everything that is in that number is in fact what I would have intended to be in that number? We've had issues in the past, and because we fully understand how our accounts are set up and how our funds are set up, it's much easier for us to control that. So for me, it's not a time savings more so than it is taking the process in-house and managing it from start to finish, so that I know that when I sign off on financial statements, they are exactly what I think they should be. In terms of where I came from, the time savings would be unreal, truly unreal. Just thinking back to how many hours I and my staff spent, evenings, weekends, grueling over making sure that everything in the ACFR is tying out, making sure that the spreadsheets we're using are the current and correct version, using a spreadsheet, saving it under your own name, and then letting the next person roll through. It's just a very tedious process. So for this to allow, currently I have 6 people that work on various parts of the ACFR. They can go in at any moment and do their work. The other thing that I really love is the project workflow. It's built in so that everyone knows what portion they own, and you can check on statuses with them, and you can mark them as done once you reviewed them. You can have a reviewer specific to certain sections. So really, if you think about it in terms of, I used to have a big spreadsheet that was like our ACFR checklist, and I don't need that anymore because now I have a project workflow built in, and everyone has their assigned portions. And so as far as time savings, I could not put in a number of hours or a percentage of savings because I didn't go right from one to the other, but I know it's tremendous. Anecdotally, I can say that. I don't know if anyone who's been using it more than I have currently could better speak to that, but I think it's a well thought out program, and I want to 100% talk about Tammy and her team, the team that supports us. When we went through our implementation, they basically mirrored our most recent financial statements that had been audited. They did a lot of the legwork themselves, and then they pretty much walked us through everything to be able to recreate that so that we knew that the mapping was good, and if something needed remapped, we learned how to do that. And I love having command of it. Truthfully, I know many of us in finance maybe are a little bit of control freaks. So in that respect, I think that I could not imagine doing it another way. So it streamlines everything. It puts the ownership right where it belongs. And then it allows your auditors then to audit not your trial balance, but your financial statements themselves, which is really what they are attesting to. So I think in overall, this is a really fantastic way to move into the future of, GASB's not going to stop. We all know. We're going to be implementing more and more. It's going to take more and more of our staff time to implement additional GASB standards as they come through. So knowing that this is not going to be one of the biggest thorns in our side anymore, the preparation of financial statements and the ACFR, I think is great for us to be able to move forward, knowing that we have a lot of things that we don't know yet that are coming down the pike, for sure. Thank you, Rachel, for having me on this panel. I do really want anybody to reach out, and I'm very passionate about the ACFR, if you didn't notice.
Yes. No, well, thank you, Lisa. And I think there's a lot of people that can resonate with what you're saying and can attest to kind of all your experiences. And I think it's just so important for everyone to kind of understand that they're not alone in this, and that they do have people that they can, collaborate with and, have as resources. So thank you. And then Kevin, do you have anything that you kind of want to add with the streamlining utilizing TRS?
Yeah, I'll just say one quick thing. Of course, I agree with everything else that's been said by the panels, but what TRS allows us to do is we're able to import our own data into the reporting solution. So that kind of allows us to start with some of those mapping things earlier on in the year. So a lot of times we do a import in January, so we can kind of clean up what we need to and kind of do a lot of stuff before we even our end of the year and we get started working on it. So we have all the new accounts that might have been added during the course of the year already mapped to where they need to show up on the financial reports before we get into it. I really like they have the option to do journal entries within the reporting solution. So some of the conversion entries that you do that you might not want to do within your financial system, you can do those in the reporting solution and add any type of backup documentation to that for a lot of your entity-wide reporting. Like everyone else has said, we give access to our auditors to this as well. So with that, they have access to see those journal entries and whatever backup we've attached to it. So it really streamlines that audit process of the auditors don't necessarily need to be on site a lot to look at this. We've given them access, and like we said, they can access it from either their office or wherever they are working from. So that streamlined that process just with the relationship we have with our auditors and how we work together in getting our ACFR audited.
Excellent. I don't think any of us could agree anymore. So before we kind of bring Tammy back and answer some questions, I just kind of want to, on behalf of Forvis Mazar, say thank you so much to our panelists for joining us today. I hope that you, all of you listening in, were able to kind of glean some insights into how the reporting solution has streamlined the ACFR and PAFR and other types of reporting for these entities. And if you have any questions, I know all these great folks on the call would be more than willing to be a resource and collaborate with you. And you can also reach out to Tammy and myself. So Tammy, what questions do we have that we want to answer while we have about 6 more minutes?
Yeah, so some really good ones came through. Somebody had asked, how long is the implementation period? So Lisa had brought this up, during the implementation process, TRS staff replicates the prior year in TRS. So that serves as proof of concept and it really streamlines training. That takes TRS staff about 4 to 6 weeks. So we ask for a data dump, everything that was used to compile the prior year ACFR, send that over. We extract all that, we build up TRS. And then there's about 20 one-hour training sessions to get everybody up to speed. And then along with that, there can usually be some tasks outside of that. So a lot of it, even before the training gets started, you log in and your ACFR is 90% replicated in TRS. Another question that had come through was just about cost.
Hey, Tammy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Tammy, real quick, let's do our last polling question to make sure that everyone joining us today gets their hour of CPE. Can we launch that last polling question? So if you're interested and you want to learn more about how you can streamline your ACFR preparation, yes or no, an easy answer, 50. Let us know and one of us will be happy to reach out to you. And then Tammy, please feel free to talk about pricing because that's been one of the common questions that we've been getting.
Yes, definitely. And yeah, this response will not come up live. But yeah, for pricing, on average, I would say to implement, it's about $15,000, and that's a one-time fee. And then there's an annual service fee, and with that, it's probably about $5,000. Now, again, that's broad. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. But I would say that's a really good average. And we base it off of the ACFR, the prior year. We go through it. We make sure that we can do everything in there. We look at number of pages, length of time. And then during the demo, if you reach out and you want to do a live demo where we go with the software, I provide you with that quote. And again, it's based solely on the prior year ACFR. Because again, you get as many logins as you want. You get complete access to the support staff as often as you need. You can have an auditor login. You get all the upgrades of the software and then GASB pronouncements as well. Somebody did ask what our largest city is. These are some of those things that I don't always really think about. I would say by population, probably Orlando, Florida, Virginia Beach, where Kevin's at. That's a very large city as well. So that's probably one of our largest cities. Somebody did ask, and for the panelists, if you, and this was discussed, just streamlining and the report prep, how much time do you think you've saved, or even just like being able to like allocate for other staff members and things like that? Do you think on average, do you think you've saved between either another tool or, using Word and Excel?
I'll try to answer that briefly. I don't know if I could quantify exactly how many hours, but I do know that my first year preparing the financial statements on the team, we had a policy that you couldn't take any vacation and you had to work Saturdays from February through like the production of the statements were calendar year end. And that is not the case at all. Like people take Fridays off if they want. It's a lot more relaxed. We still, it's a busy time, but it's not like people are working crazy hours like we used to. So how much time? A significant amount of time I'd say we've saved. Now 7 years implemented of TRS and how comfortable we are with it. So that's what I would say is my experience.
And I'll say too, it's allowed us to kind of focus our energy at a different place. So instead of having to worry about numbers rolling forward and being correct throughout the entire book, we're able to do more analysis and stuff like that with using, instead of having to focus on making sure stuff appears in the right places.
Exactly. And I will just add a final thought. One of my biggest problems in, managing a team who is doing this manually, the burnout rate is huge. The fact that, to Mitchell's point, people couldn't even take off a day for months, right? And then you have to work Saturdays. And so basically, you give up your entire life. And that's a huge strain on your staff. And as we continue to see that the pipeline for new staff members has shrunk and is continuing to shrink, that's huge. We have to be able to allow our folks to be able to really have some work-life balance even through our hardest times. So it's very important to find these ways to streamline where we can.
I just want to echo some of what Mitchell said, but although it does save you a lot of time, I've never quantified how much exactly. The more you use the tool, the more experience you get with it, the better it gets, the more efficiencies you gain. And even just hearing some of the other presenters talk today, I'm like, oh, I didn't think about using it for like our popular annual financial report, or I didn't know I could upload work papers into the tool. So you learn new things that help pick up on more efficiencies over time. And I think in the long run, yes, you take your holiday time, your Christmas time off, and you get weekend time back, and it's all really, it's worth the investment in the end for sure.
Rachel, if I can, I just noticed that there is a question regarding any other tools besides Excel before switching to TRS. And I did just want to, I want to point out that when I was in Arizona, the biggest roadblock to getting a solution was price. So I didn't have the opportunity to work with anything else because it was pretty cost prohibitive. It was a very hard press to get anyone to approve paying $60,000 annually for a software that's going to save us time and make our lives easier. Yes, but that's a lot of money. So I think you have to look at cost and what the solution does for you, and then do your due diligence and do your demos, which is what I did. But boy, it's it was a no-brainer for us. So.
Excellent. Well, I think we're a little over time, and so I want to be mindful of everyone's time, but thank you all so much for joining us. And I'm going to flip back to just everyone's contact information. And I believe it is in the handouts. But here's everyone's contact information, names, who they represent. Please feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any questions, want to learn more about TRS. We're all pretty passionate about this governmental accounting and report preparation, if you can't tell. So thank you again, everybody. Thank you again to our panelists. Thank you, Tammy. You're a rock star. Thank you so much for giving us an overview of TRS and watching all the questions come in. So thank you all so much. Have a great day, and we hope to hear from you soon.